So we've got another follow-up on the ongoing MAGA civil war between the tech right bro dude represented by Elon Musk and the nativist racist portion of the MAGA movement represented by the likes of Laura Loomer, Steve Bannon, and Charlie Kirk. As you know, Donald Trump recently came down and finally took a position siding with Elon Musk. And there's a lot to talk about here because we're starting to see some serious backlash after Trump made his decision. And to explore this with me, I brought on my friend and yours, the host of the more than 1 million subscriber political channel, Luke Beasley of The Luke Beasley Show. What's up, Luke?
Josiah, it's great to be with you, and it's great to see MAGA eating themselves alive.
It is. It's so good. And just to give you a taste of this, which my audience has seen this clip before, but again, it's a really good hors d'oeuvre. It sets us up. I want you to see this Charlie Kirk clip prior to Trump coming down from Mount Olympus and giving his position. This was Charlie Kirk taking the position that MAGA is going to set the agenda for the Republican Party, not some sort of tech oligarch. Take it away, Charlie.
This is a violation of our social contract. And it sounds good. Let's just let more H-1B workers in. But what about the 23-year-old that went to University of Washington and studied computer science at the UW Computer Science Department? Shouldn't he be given preference above someone who could do the work for far less? It is about priorities, and it's not about what Charlie Kirk wants. It's not about what other people want out there. And I have friends on both sides of this debate. It's very simple. It's what the American people wanted. And the American people overwhelmingly voted for less immigration and the prioritization of the American children and the American worker, not the American oligarch.
Not the American oligarch, Luke. Charlie Kirk said so damn confidently. But apparently not. Apparently what the tech oligarch wants in the MAGA movement is what sets the agenda. So before we get into MAGA's response to Trump, I want you to talk about this. Luke, what do you think about Trump finally making his decision after being radio silent for several days?
I was so curious. Number one, how long it would take Trump to take a side. And number two, obviously, what side he'd take. And you know how Trump is, if there's one thing he's good at, it's giving bad, incoherent answers. And I thought that if he were asked about this, that's what we would get. It's just a bunch of words that mean nothing, walking the fence. Because like we saw with when he would be booed because of his vaccine stance by his more extreme MAGA followers, and then he backed off. He is sort of terrified of his own followers. And I had a suspicion that he was in alignment with Elon Musk in a general sense on the H-1B visa program, but he also has flip-flopped on his stance on that issue a little bit. So I had no idea. And to see him not really even do a I'm sitting on the fence, but clearly side with Elon Musk, opposed to his own most hardcore supporters and opposed to the very people who, like you were saying, were sort of preemptively taking a victory lap because Trump was definitely going to side with them because we are representative of America and Trump works for us and not the oligarchs. And then what does that mean about Charlie Kirk's argument? Is Trump supporting the oligarchy? The answer is yes, but obviously, as Josiah, I'm sure you mentioned on your show as well, what's funny is I'm rooting on both sides going after each other on this, and I want both sides to lose in a sense, but I actually happen to agree with Musk's stance on H-1B visas and how we benefit from the best and the brightest, as they say, across the world.
Yeah, there's no question. So my position was, since we've been discussing this on my channel, is, it's like two terrible people, two terrible factions going at it. It's almost like a Godzilla movie in the sense where you have like two or more kaiju battling it out. And no matter who wins, including even Godzilla, a lot of damage taken. But in this particular case, yeah, there's no question that, what's motivating the likes of Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon and Laura Loomer is a deep and profound racism, right? Now, Elon Musk's motivations are certainly cynical. I don't think it's like a benevolent love of immigration. I think it's, he is an oligarch. He is a capitalist. He benefits from immigrant labor. But so the country just benefits from immigration, period. It just the workforce, culturally. But yes, there's no question that in this case, Musk's views are the lesser evil. But what's interesting is what it potentially sets up, right? This precedent, because now once again, Elon Musk has set the agenda for the MAGA movement. There's so much to discuss there, but if you could bring up the Daily Beast article discussing the aftermath, the immediate aftermath of Trump's pronouncement, he's getting backlash about this as well. And that's really the focus of this particular video. If you could scroll to the part where it says, dozens of blue MAGA checks are pushing back. The article says dozens of patriotic conservative blue check accounts rushed to criticize the incoming White House chief over his ever-changing view on the matter and accused him of betraying those most faithful to the MAGA movement. Is MAGA DOA dead on arrival? Asked podcaster Michael Savage on X. He added, Trump supports H-1B visas for foreign workers. Conservative lawyer Jenna Ellis added, quote, why is Trump going against his own policy on immigration, with a link to his campaign platform on the matter. Others also accused him of a flip-flop in his stance. One ex-user shared Trump's coming out against the program on March 3rd, 2016, and added, quote, Trump is effing up big time with his flip-flop on HB1 visas. The internet never forgets. And Luke, before we discuss this, because there's so much to unpack, I sent you a clip of even in 2020 when Trump was the sitting president, railing against H-1B visas. Can you play that to really just drive it home that these people are correct that he is flip-flopping?
As we speak, we're finalizing H-1B regulations so that no American worker is replaced ever again. H-1Bs should be used for top, highly paid talent to create American jobs, not as inexpensive labor program to destroy American jobs. Sitting at the table are 6 of the TVA workers who were ordered to train the foreign labor flown in to replace them as we speak.
So there you go. Even as the sitting president, Trump was very, very careful to not give H-1B his full-throated endorsement. He seemed to be contemptuous of the program. But now that Elon Musk is overtly in favor of it and there's a relationship there, even some of Trump's most devout followers are recognizing the flip-flop. So, Luke, I've got some questions for you. Number one, are you stunned that Donald Trump has flip-flopped on a political position for political convenience? Are you okay? Are you bracing yourself?
It's stunning. Nothing more uncommon in American politics than a Trump flip-flop. No, very expected, but also I know a lot of us have been saying this to MAGA, even though I disagree with their position and they're just opposed to lawful immigration in general. If you have a specific concern, I've heard liberal concerns about how this program can be used by companies to make workers feel like they're beholden to the company and the threat of deportation. And there are totally fair conversations to be had there. But for MAGA, it's just any instances in general of immigration to the United States now they're opposed to. And of course, as both of us have reviewed in our respective shows, lawful immigration is extremely economically beneficial. That means beneficial for individual workers and their wages, American workers here. And in so many ways, we benefit from it economically, innovatively, etc. And that's what they're opposed to. And so that's why jumping into the nuances of this particular visa program isn't even relevant to the MAGA argument. But separate from my disagreement with their wild opposition to immigration in general, which for a while they told us it was just about undocumented immigration. And I was like, yeah, I agree. I mean, your crazy dehumanization is not fair, but I agree we should not have undocumented immigration, but instead a lot of lawful immigration. But regardless, aside from that, we warned MAGA. This is an I told you so moment. We told you that Trump aligning himself with the wealthiest man on the planet, who's obviously doing this to leverage his power for his own interests, it was going to betray you. Trump is easy to influence, and that's what Musk was doing by buying his way into the Trump administration with these massive campaign contributions. This is the very swamp, the very corruption that MAGA said Trump represented in opposition to. We told you so, MAGA.
Yeah, no, this is an I told you so moment. And that's why no matter who emerged victorious from this, there would be, the fact that MAGA is fighting at all is just something to celebrate, period. And, we're at the very end. I want to read you, or I want us to review a tweet from a major MAGA influencer who is smart enough to recognize that just this constant infighting is not good for the Republican Party as a whole. But yeah, I mean, this the fact of the matter is flip-flops are common with Trump. Now, I know people are inclined to grade Trump on a curve. Okay, it's okay if he says one thing on Monday, something else on Tuesday, and completely contradict a second position and the first position on Friday. Now, if it were Vice President Kamala Harris, my God, this in and of itself, Luke, as you well know, that Piers Morgan would have 4 or 5 episodes dedicated to this flip-flop. I doubt this particular one.
Can we believe anything she's ever going to say ever again?
Exactly. Unbelievable. And meanwhile, this will not be a topic of discussion unless you make it that so on your next appearance there. But this is just who Trump is. He says whatever is convenient, depending on who he's talking to at the time. If he needs to court the masses, he'll say, he'll lean into populist rhetoric. If he wants to court billionaires from Silicon Valley right, he'll say things favorable to them. But Trump has won the election. So he doesn't need another vote. Mm-hmm. Maybe he'll try to remain in office after his constitutional term. That's still a possibility, given how Donald Trump, how famously disrespectful he is of, elections and constitutional parameters. But he doesn't need your votes.
Josiah, these quotes that you cited, throw this up, Jaden. So in 2024, just recently, Trump says, I have always been in favor of the visas. I've been a believer in H-1B. It's a great program. Always, he says. But then in 2016, he said, I know the H-1B very well. He started the same. I know it very well. We shouldn't have it. Very, very bad for workers. It's unfair for our workers, and we should end it. So just to bolster your point about the flip-flop.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, he has truly been much more often a critic, an opponent of H-1B visa programs. But because it's convenient for Musk, he's leaning into it. And so we said in the beginning, after we looked at Charlie Kirk, that there were so many people taking a preemptive victory lap. And I want you to hear from another major MAGA influencer, a top Trump advisor, Steve Bannon, because he was also picking a fight with Elon Musk. And I want you to hear a couple of clips of Steve Bannon here.
If you think that this audience in the MAGA movement, the hoplites, the Grundoons, the fixed bayonet crowd that fought the steal of 2020 and then had President Trump's back in the darkest days of 21 and were with him the entire time, particularly because he was right on the basic issues that were causing the destruction of our beloved republic, are going to now, after a massive come-from-behind victory, overwhelming victory, just sit there and roll over while the country's torn apart by oligarchs. It's not going to happen.
I love how he credits his movement with fighting the 2020 election being stolen, when if we accept their conspiratorial lies, apologies, then wouldn't that be a failure because they failed to stop the steal in 2020?
Well, that's a very, very good point, to say nothing of the fact that, as part of his, unlawful scheming, Steve Bannon actually had to serve time, in a roundabout way. He served jail time in relation to his involvement with the attempt to steal the 2020 election from the proper victor, President Biden. So again, the irony is thick there. But the other thing, Luke, was he's talking about, like, if you think that the people who always had Trump's back through thick or thin at the darkest times, if you think we're going to roll over simply because our guy totally disregarded that, threw us all under the bus for the sake of people who didn't have his back the whole time, you've got another thing coming. Like, do you understand
so good.
The hilarity there, this preemptive, like, you just made what happened to you that much more hilarious, because Trump doesn't give a damn about your conspiracism, your cultish loyalty, until it's convenient. And then the moment it's not convenient, because again, on January 20th, he will be the president of the United States. He doesn't need your votes right now, if ever. He's secure for 4 years. To hell with you. It's Elon Musk that he needs and fears, not you, Steve Bannon. And so it's so damn funny. One more clip, one more clip. The second clip, it's about 90 seconds. Played that one because he's just so animated about this. He's going to really stick it to Elon.
I want to read from Elon Musk last night, of which I've been the strongest advocate that Elon was a central part of Trump's victory, right? And particularly being smart enough using his engineer's brain to understand it was about to get out the vote canvassing and low propensity, low information voters. Elon said last night, and Raheem will jump in here in a moment with Poso and go through some other even nastier tweets he put up last night about MAGA being racist, which is the last refuge of a scoundrel in modern politics, to quote Andrew Breitbart via Johnson, right? This last night, if we can put it up on the screen, I'd appreciate it. This is Elon Musk. The reason I'm in America, along with so many critical people who built SpaceX, Tesla, and hundreds of other companies that made America strong, is because of H-1B. Take a big step back and F yourself, all caps, in the face. F yourself in the face. I will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend. Oh yeah, tough guy? Is that you're going to go to war on the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend? You're a man-child, to be blunt. I hate to make it personal, but what you have done is try to trash individuals punching down. Remember, the first rule of gladiator school, bro, don't punch down. Either punch up here or punch up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Harsh
Sure,
words.
Steve Bannon. The first. Okay. All MAGA does is punch down. What are you talking about? And also, Elon Musk, again, I articulated that he's more right on this than MAGA is, but what is wrong with the way he's approaching this? He could have just quietly gotten Trump to support this and nobody would have paid attention. That's how it works. Last administration, they thought Trump was going to fight the deep state and be the swamp drainer. And then he just did a bunch of wealthy tax cuts and a bunch of deregulations that benefits powerful folks and wasn't looking out for them at all, despite them thinking that he was, because they weren't actually paying attention to the details. But Elon Musk coming out on this so publicly is actually causing an unnecessary backlash. But also, have you ever owned somebody just by telling them to F themselves in their own face? I've never used that phrase. How is that even possible?
So it's a reference to a great movie, a funny movie called Tropic Thunder, and Tom Cruise plays. It's an iconic cameo by Tom Cruise, but he actually screws up the quote. He's actually on the phone with somebody in the movie, and he calls him an F face, and then he says, "I want you to take a step back and quite literally F your own face." It makes sense in the context of the film, but Elon Musk doesn't even do the setup right. So like he kind of fumbles. He doesn't stick the landing, which is just classic Elon Musk, right? You would think that a guy who is the richest man in the world, arguably the most powerful man in the world, because clearly he has intimidated Donald Trump into obedience, again, not for the first time, which further breathes to life this increasingly common perception that's Musk, who is the de facto president. And yet, despite all that wealth and power, Luke, he's such a freaking loser. He really is. He just has all the qualities of somebody that we would regard as a loser. I mean, he's almost like improbabilistically, like it is. You are almost superhumanly dedicated to
I've
loserness.
never heard so many descriptors to call someone a potty word.
He's just, I mean, he is so bad. But yeah, I love the Bannon can't make up his mind. Bannon wants to position himself as a warrior, a culture warrior. And then other times he's trying to shame, like, no, don't pick on me, Elon. You're supposed to punch up. Stop it. Mm-hmm. So I love the deflation in real time after they tried to take a preemptive victory lap, as you said. And I guess I want to give you the final word, tying together Charlie Kirk, Steve Bannon, and Jenna Ellis. That was kind of, in some ways, that was my personal favorite. Because she said, this woman who helped try to steal the election with Donald Trump, had to basically settle. I think she lost her license to practice law as a consequence of this, as a consequence of her prosecution. Do you think that MAGA will hold Donald Trump accountable for this flip? Oh, okay, there you go.
No, I don't. I think we've seen in the past there's this temporary we can stop Trump from doing something, or we can get our powerful people in line. In reality, I think on this issue especially, because it's not Trump announcing that he's abandoning his entire mass deportation plan, which would be more close to the thing MAGA is the most passionate about, or that all of a sudden he's doing no drill baby drilling. And I think a little too niche for them to stay this motivated about, but I do think they'll be successful in getting Elon Musk out of the conversation a little bit. I wanted to read, because I thought it was interesting, you threw this in the doc, Patrick Bet-David, who's a conservative influencer, and what he had to say to MAGA, begging them to stop turning their weapons at each other. A warning, he says, to conservatives, MAGA, libertarians, and independents who were happy when Trump won. The establishment left and the Democrats are all laughing their asses off right now. True. Their lazy strategy to divide and conquer worked, and Trump isn't even president yet. It's not dividing and conquering. It's showing you that you're not as aligned with Elon Musk as you think you are. We're just showing you what's there. We're not creating the division. They
divided
Trump
and conquered themselves. They did
that's
it.
their whole strategy.
Right. Yeah. Our strategy is to let you all just be yourselves. That's what a brilliant stratagem.
Them pinning Trump and MAGA against Musk worked on many of you, not all, but many. Here are some things to consider. Number one, I never expected Trump, Musk, you, and I to agree on everything. It's impossible to do so, regardless of you being pro H1B or not. Everyone has the right to call each other out. That includes me, Musk, or Trump out. That's all good. We need it. I like how he puts himself, me or Musk or Trump. In the
yeah,
same,
I'm on the
category.
same. I'm basically the shadow prime minister. Come on, Patrick. Come on.
However, some do it with the intention of going viral and making claims that only divide the party. We can be respectful yet direct. I think that's enough. Is there any other key part? Because we get the point. He's gonna fail.
He keeps going on and
you
on.
You want
and
MAGA
on,
to be respectful? Look at your leader. Respect's the last thing he treats anyone with.
No, 100%. And I also want to end on that as well, because what Patrick, and he's not the only one, they're nervous. They're nervous about how this looks. The fact that Trump hasn't even been inaugurated yet, and we're seeing the civil war. And again, we saw it with the continuing resolution that Musk torpedoed. It created enormous dissent within the party. But really what this shows, and again, this is so important, that Donald Trump is not in charge. Donald Trump is not in control. Donald Trump has been cowed, has been intimidated by Elon Musk. And even though, as we say, Elon Musk was more correct on this issue than the MAGA base, we should all be concerned about the sinister, corrupt, oligarchic influence of Elon Musk and others. And I expect that this will become a recurring theme in the Trump administration, which has appointed more billionaires to its posts than any previous administration, I think, including the first Trump administration, which is saying something. So, Luke, I guess at the end of the day, no matter who wins in this situation, it's bad for the rest of us. It's not good for the country as a whole. But do you have any optimism? Is there any silver lining based on this?
When you said it, he's being intimidated by Musk, I felt it relevant to remind people of who Trump is being intimidated by. So what was your question? I was so distracted.
I understand the whole X thing distracted. Do you see any silver lining of this? Do you think that it's going to accelerate the decline of the Trump Musk alliance? Do you think that it's going to accelerate any sort of pushback from the MAGA flank? Do you see anything good coming out of this?
Yes.
Just beyond the lesser evil happening to win?
No, I do, because I think sometimes people will ask, why, if Trump is so dangerous, did he not do the worst of his dangerous intentions the first go round? My response is his presidency ended with a once-in-a-generation mismanaging of a crisis that led to way more people dying than needed to, and an attempted coup. So he did some bad stuff. But in terms of why, the first 3 years, why wasn't he doing this, that, and the other thing? Part of it is I think he's ideologically progressed. And the other part is who he was surrounding himself with. Part of the reason the coup didn't work is because of who was around him saying, we're not going to do that. And the warning has always been that's not going to be the case in a second term. So incompetence protected us from some of his worst intentions whenever he would say, I want to prosecute this person, or this person should be executed for this, that, the other thing, as the most extreme example we've heard. The people around him would be like, whatever, he's just venting. But if you have a more loyal person to him, or more ideologically driven person, maybe worse things end up happening. And so I'm hoping for that same incompetence and inner administration strife to get in the way of them accomplishing, because you got to be competent, even if bad, to accomplish some of these bad things. And if this type of infighting and division and Elon Musk, he's in, he's out, can get in the way of some of the worst
Well, they
things,
won't they? Yeah.
Yeah, then that would be the silver lining.
Well, on that note, I think we have got to leave it here on a silver lining. Luke, I really appreciate it. Where can people find you?
You can find me at Luke Beasley on YouTube. Josiah, you always make my day better.
Likewise, buddy. Thanks.